Besides the jighead minnow, this little guy right here has probably been the biggest bait trend in North America in the last 2 to 3 years. I'm David Bromenschenkel, and today we are talking about the fuzzy dice. A stupid little piece of plastic with tentacles flying all everywhere. My kids think it's an octopus of some sort, for crying out loud. But yet it's sweeping the nation. It's catching a lot of fish for people on the recreational level, and it is winning a ton of money for the pros on a tour level. Well, any tournament level, to be honest with you. We don't have to go far from Takuma Ito's tournament win this year on Smith Lake to Easton Fothergill's open win on Leech Lake in my home state of Minnesota. Was also won on this thing just this year. We don't even know how many countless, local, state level, regional stuff has probably been making money for people on this bait. And to be honest, it doesn't look like much. I mean, it's like I said, it's a stupid little piece of plastic with tentacles. One might think, okay, well, let's go buy some and let's start catching fish, right? Well, so you go into the store or you go click online, go to Omnia or Tackle Warehouse, and you find these stupid little fuzzy dice, and then you realize why you start second guessing yourself, because the OSP fuzzy dice for a single 4-pack of these things will cost you a cool $20. Just gone, just like that. And they don't even last that long, to be honest with you. Now, there's tips and tricks that we're going to show you to get some mileage out of this little guy. So, what do? Well, of course, we suck it up and hand the cashier our money. But unless you're smart and start doing what a bunch of other guys have been doing, and that is making their own fuzzy dice. I've seen guys take actual players' dice, make a mold of silicone, RTV silicone, or plaster of Paris, and pour their own, and then thread the silicone script material through. And I've also seen a few of those guys try to sell them. So, which makes me wonder, what makes this thing worth $20 to these big companies? We're actually going to dive into that today because we're going to make some of our own. I went and earlier this year bought a rubber dice mold from LureCraft. Actually a pretty neat little looking mold. It's a 10 cavity. You can buy it off of Lure Parts online. I believe it retails for $130. If I remember right, is what I paid for that mold. And then all you need left after that is some skirting material and a way to thread it. So we're going to go out and try and catch some fish on it. But before we go to the lake, let's go to the work stand and pour us up some rubber dice. Okay, so for this process, we are obviously melting down raw plastisol, mixing up. We're not going to get into detail on for this particular video. All that you need to know is that we're doing green pumpkin with black flake, and we're using what I call my stickworm recipe. If you haven't seen that video, I have a video on my perfect, what I consider the perfect soft plastic stickworm recipe. Check out that video in the link. I'll have that linked in the description. But basically, we're doing a stickworm recipe here, which means we have salt or blast media. And that's because you can buy the dice baits, and most of the dice baits come in 2 different flavors, I guess you could say. Non-salted and salted. I've been preferring the salted or weighted version over the non-salt version, just because I like my baits to, when I'm wacky rigging them or throwing them weightless, I don't have to add as much lead or nail weights to them. And because there's already it's just a little piece of plastic cube, it's kind of hard to shove enough weight into it the way it is. That, and when it's on a drop shot, it still falls down. It just doesn't, I just had more success using the weighted version. So what we got here is we got our plastic all up. We gotta stir really good, because we gotta suspend that salt or blast media, wherever you're using, into the plastic sol. Then push down, and that's all there is to it, basically. Top it off. Oh, one of the kids came in. Or the wife, one of the two. The silence means it's probably the wife. But now we'll just let this cool, and then we'll get to the really sucky part of this deal. Okay, so now that we've let the mold cool, the bait's cool, let's open this up and get our baits out, or dice out here. Come on, being a little stubborn. That's what they look like, and just peel them from the mold. Nothing to it, I'm just gonna take one off here to do the next part, which is threading the skirting material through. Now on the actual OSP dice baits and most other dice baits, they're doing 4 strands on each side, top and bottom. So basically 16 strands, if I remember correct. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our we got some green pumpkin skirt material here. We're going to fold it in half, and we're going to cut it one way, and then we got to cut the tabs, because they're molded tabs to for if you're using a skirt material or a skirt making tool for a regular skirt. And then we're just going to cut. So now we got a bunch of strands that we're going to have to thread through. So the fastest way that I've figured out how to thread the silicone skirt material through is just by using a regular sewing needle. And this is the really sucky part that takes forever. I'll try to get it on camera. So we just thread it in like that. Helps to wet. Put a little bit of spit or something on there. And then we are just going to go put one through each corner here. So like so. And pull it through, and that's one. And then we just repeat the process for every single strand that we got to do here. Now, like I said, this is the most time consuming part, and the reason why these companies charge what they do, I'm assuming, for these baits, unless you're talking about one of the Chinese knockoffs from AliExpress or wherever that are using cheap labor to make them for pennies on a dollar. If somebody has a better idea how to do this, I would like to know, just so that I'm not wasting a good chunk of my winter doing this for my own supply. I'm trying to do this so you guys can see it nicely on camera. When I go as fast as I can, it usually takes me about 5 minutes to do a single bait. And at 5 minutes per bait, I'm only getting about 12 of these done an hour, which obviously there's way more efficient ways to make money in that time. And probably that is the main factor as to why some of these companies are charging $5 a bait. So once we get all four one side done here, we go to the next side, and we don't want to hit any of these other ones, so we're going to go like either above or below, just so that we don't stab the silicone material and pull it out the other side that it's not supposed to go. Oh, come on. Sometimes it gets stubborn like that. Man. If I had to do if I were making these to sell, I would have to charge about $10 a bag just to make it worth my time. I've done the math on this. That includes the time from mixing up the plastisol blend, heating it up, injecting the baits, to putting the skirty material through. I'm just going to hurry up, finish this bait out here, and then we will talk about it some more. I just got the top and bottom to do now that we've gotten all those sides done. Then it's just a matter of let's not hit the other couple strands as we go through. And so I'm going to quickly finish this out, and then we'll talk some more about some of the rigging, how I rig them, how I fish them, and then we'll hit the lake and go and see if we can't catch some bass on them. So as you can see, this guy here is pretty labor intensive to make. So that's why I assumed that these baits cost $20 for a pack of 4. Now, I'm not saying that's how OSP is doing them or any other dice manufacturers are doing them. If they are smart, and what I'm assuming OSP is doing is they actually have all these little tentacles molded into the actual mold itself. So all you have to do is, all that they have to do is when they inject the plastic, just demold them, clip the sprues off, put them in a bag. But even that, when you count into the cost of that mold, because all these little, that's a lot of detail adding into a mold, all these extra fingers and making sure all of them fill. That mold probably costs a ton of money, but that's probably why they're charging what they're charging. So that's just my take on why these baits cost what they do. Again, that's just my theory. Now, before we go to the lake and show some fish catches, make sure you hit that like and subscribe and notification bell so you don't miss out on any of this cool content that I'm showing you. And one other thing we're going to do before we get to the lake is I'm going to show you guys how I'm rigging these things, because you don't want to go through all that time and effort to make one of these baits and just have it fling off your hook. Because the plastisol that we are using for this is a very soft plastisol blend. And then we add salt and or blast media to weight it down. That filler it weakens the plastic, And then the addition of stabbing a sewing needle through and running these silicone skirts through, that also weakens the material. So it's really easy to go through a lot of these baits in no time. So what I've been doing is taking these owner center pinning springs. This is a medium size, but I prefer the small size. And what we're going to do is we are going to look at the bait, see which way is tapered. The mold that I have actually has a taper to it to show what side is top and bottom. And all we're going to do is we're just going to screw that spring all the way in. Again, I prefer the small size and not the medium. I'm going to get that in all the way. Although the medium does work, you just have a little piece there. So small or medium, I guess. Then we're taking our number 2 drop shot hook. This is an owner mosquito. And we're just going to try and get right in that right through that ring of that spring, and voila. Now this bait becomes really hard to pull off or tear off or get casted off when you're making casts. It should hold up to multiple fish. Not guaranteed, but in theory it should make it last a lot longer. And then on a drop shot, I prefer a slightly longer leader length, foot to 18 inches, because we added salt. Now it's adding a lot of movement area to where the bait can just sit and move. I did notice when you're fishing with when you're viewing this bait falling through the water column, even though I have a pretty decent sized weight, I believe this is a 3/16 or a quarter. This thing, because of all the tentacles, it just falls so slowly, even though it's weighted down. The sink rate is just so much slower than, say, a robo worm or a finesse worm of your choice. So maybe bump up the weight a little bit more than a quarter. I don't know. I'm still experimenting with it. And then when you're throwing this weightless, I do the exact same thing. The only difference is I'll take little lead nail weights or tungsten weights, and I'll just go on the bottom here and push them in just to get it to vertically fall like that. Otherwise, just a standard drop shot rod with 8-pound with a Shimano 2500 Spain reel. I preferred Vanford, to 8-pound braid, to a 6 to 8-pound fluorocarbon leader. And we are going to go out to the lake and see if we can't catch some smallmouth with this thing. Nice smallmouth. Yeah. Oh, that's a big smallmouth too. Big smallie. Big smallie. Not quite 5 pounds, but he's definitely pushing 4. Look at that toad. Yeah, baby! Oh. All right. Goodbye, beautiful.